Late Night Health continues. During hour 2, we're going to spend some time talking about posture, and we're going to make an analogy between underwear and your bed. So stay tuned for that. Underwear and your bed here on Late Night Health in hour 2. We are spending some time with our friend Paul Corona. He's a medical doctor, the author of Healing, the Mind and Body Trilogy, and we're talking about the stigma of mental disease. Now, in the Middle Ages, and I think, gosh, I've got to believe up until the 1800s and maybe even past that, if somebody were deaf, blind, if they were, manic, they would be thrown into a prison. Have our mores about mental illness changed all that much, really?
Not really that much. I mean, people are still labeled, and you're crazy, and and it's still, there's so much stigma right now, and it really is what holds people back to getting treatment. It's the number one thing I see that holds people back, and there's so many people out there suffering that need help that don't get it because, well, I don't want to take those things, I don't want to do that, and they just write it off, and unfortunately it doesn't fix itself.
Well, they don't want to do it because they don't want family and friends to know that they have a mental disorder. And
right.
You've explained to me that many of these disorders are simply chemical imbalances that through the use of medications, exercise, yoga, you can get this, you can be back in balance and find your true self, if you will.
Yeah, and medications are simply, to put it really simply, they go to the nerve cells. There's over 100 billion nerve cells in one body, and there's over 100 trillion connections in the body. So the chemicals are going around the body 1,000 times a second our whole lives. So what medications do is simply attach the cells and prevent the backflow and reestablish normal connections of the chemicals in the nervous system, and that's all they do.
So it truly balances you out. And,
right.
And if everybody understood that stigma about mental illness would go away. At least I think it would.
Right, and people use way too many other medications to balance out. Xanax, Valium, uppers. People use sleeping pills a lot, but those aren't balancing. They're treating a symptom, but they're not balancing the person. I try to get to the core of the problem and balance the system, and all of a sudden, sleeping better, not having anxiety attacks anymore, not depressed so much. It's not going to ever be perfect because that's, medications don't cause that, but they sure get people to a functional state, and they're much happier, and their families are, and their friends are happier, and everybody's happier.
And that word functional is the operative word, because we all want to be able to function in society, whether it's our home life, our work life, our friends' life. We want to be able to participate on a level that everybody is comfortable with. But if you go running, screaming down the street because something upsets you, you need to take a look at that. And a lot of people don't.
Most people don't, and most people who need help don't get it. Unfortunately, a very small minority of people who actually could benefit are actually getting the benefit from these.
What would be the best way to crush the stigma of mental disorders and disease? I mean, people are coming out. I'm sorry, excuse me. It just occurred to me. I know people who are coming out. Clergy are coming out and saying, hey, I was depressed for years until I met Dr. Paul. And others have said the same thing. We constantly hear about celebrities, Robin Williams, committing suicide. He must have been really at his, at a low level and didn't want to talk about it, I guess, and found the wrong solution, at least to me. Doctor, we're out of time. If you want to know more about Dr. Paul Corona, you can go to latenighthealth.com, check under our contributor tab, and you'll see a pretty picture of him. We're getting a new one. He doesn't even know that. I talked to Jim. We're getting a new one, period. And we're going to put that up very soon. He is the author of Healing the Mind and Body Trilogy, and we look forward to talking to him next week. Dr. Paul, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Daryl.
I'm Mark Alyn. Hour 1 is wrapped up. If you don't get it, you can always go to latenighthealth.com. Latenighthealth.com. We'll see you around the bend, around the corner. Coming up, Hour 2 of Late Night Health.